An army of ripped men chant in the rain while holding Yakido, who has been sealed in a wooden ceremonial container. Two of the members tells the leader that his successor has been brought. As he addresses the crowd, it is revealed that he is Yukido's father. His son will be entering the ritual of Musubi. He screams as he bounces off the cliff, falling face first. As he sinks into the depths of the ocean, his life begins to flash before his eyes. He chants some words from the cult and finds himself in a new location. Aluril greets him good morning in a unique way. Yakido assumes she knows all the typical transportation tropes and asks Aluril the location of the Adventurers Guild. She just takes it as he wants to work in the village, so she shows him the way. He follows, thinking he's going to be an adventurer in an alternate world with swords and magic. This is something he has always dreamed of. His excitement is taken down a notch as he finds himself farming. He wonders if this is a quest, as it's too boring of a start. His thoughts are interrupted when Roy puts on the tough guy act to intimidate Yakido. Glenn breaks his character by hitting and telling Roy to stop hassling the new guy. Yakido uses the surplus grapes to make happy juice. It is there in such abundance that Aluril's older sister Suluril creates a human pyramid and pours the drink over them to enjoy. It has been a month since Yakido arrived. Although it is not exactly what he wanted, he thanks his god for sending him to this world. Aluril looks at him confused because she doesn't know what that word means. He later takes a stroll in the woods as he reveals that this world doesn't have the concept of gods, religion, or any sort of spirituality. The trio visit the imperial capital. He also advises him to avoid talking to anyone from the city. He explains that their village is despised. As he looks around, he notices everyone glaring at them. Yakido sees a group of people in the square, so he goes to have a look, and to his surprise, he sees guards standing behind some men who take a substance which ends them. The guards check and announce to the crowd that the day's end of life has concluded smoothly. Aluril pulls him away as he looks distressed. She lets him know that the country has what is called the end-of-life system. When the country orders it, the chosen people must delete themselves. Roy adds that they are kind of special, so they get treated differently. But the following morning, Yakido wakes up to find that the place is empty, so he wonders if the girls didn't open for business. He makes his way out and finds Roy badly beaten on the floor. The guy tells him that the girls have been taken. Since they are looked at as deviants, they are not instructed to end their lives. Instead, they have it forcibly taken. With tears in his eyes, he reveals that today is Aluril and Suluril's day. Unfortunately, at the capital, Suluril has already been lost as her sister watches in shock. He gets angry when he sees the state of Suluril and asks why is it that they have to suffer. Bertrand steps forward stating that they are deviants who fear the end of life, and it shouldn't be so because the citizen must embrace it. After listening to him, he figures that the thought patterns are just like a cult. Before Yakido can react, he is taken out by the high ranker, and he then ends Aluril. As the two bleed out, Yakido grabs his protective necklace and pleads for Mitama to save them. His pleas are heard, which summons her into the world. She drops down happy that Yakido finally called her, but she gets angry when she realizes that he's dead. She uses her power to engulf Bertrand and his men for their transgression. The goddess then brings the two back to life, which surprises them. She disturbs Yakido a little before formally introducing herself. Wasn't planning on reviving anyone else but Yakido. The others were just a byproduct of her overflowing power. Yakido looks down at her a little surprised that she could bring back the dead to life and wonders if she's a god. The capital residents just witness the miracle but turn at once, leaving the area as if nothing happened. Yakido notices and finds their behavior odd. They later return to the isolation camp. The others are shocked to see them alive even though they are a little ruffled up. Yakido sits with Clan, wanting to be filled in on the important details about the country. He still can't fathom why there is a compulsory end to a person's life. The resident explains that the end-of-life system was established hundreds of years ago by the Emperor and the Parliament. They are confused about who the stranger is, so he explains that she came from the same country as him and adds that they have known each other for a long time now. Roy sees Mitama and becomes infatuated with her, but she rejects him so hard that his reaction disgusts everyone. She offers to show him how she creates a flood, but Yakido rushes to stop her, thinking that she's about to cause a lot of damage. However, to his surprise, it only moves the happy juice in a cup, which spills all over Roy, who still lies there devastated by that rejection. Yakido is a little underwhelmed by that display. She too notices something is wrong, so she casts a spell on the table that tells her the number of followers she currently has. She can't believe that the number is 0. Mitama explains that the more followers a god has, the more powerful they become. So with 0 followers, there isn't much she can do. This only makes Yakido mad because she should have known that she was coming to another world so she wouldn't have any followers. Mitama turns the table, asking why the number is 0 since he's around. He looks away a little embarrassed as she complains. She used the last of her powers to save his life and he doesn't believe in her. Yakido has decided that he will make her a deity by creating a religion and making her the first god of their current world. They target Roy first as they talk to him. He's too busy in his world. Nevertheless, he hears everything and agrees to become their first follower. Mitama checks and he has been countered. She is happy but attached attacks Yukito for not believing. Alyul rushes in with their poisoned pet. Yukito suggests that they take it to the vet. Seoul rules that option out, explaining that the high powers don't care for non-human lives. They also don't have the medicine or the knowledge to treat her, so there's nothing they can do. The sisters get a little upset because it's like family to them. Chilchil coughs out a green substance and begins to leave the world. The sisters' cries touch Mitama, so she decides to use all the power she gained from her only follower to revive their pet, and it works. But it turns the goddess old. The sisters are grateful for the kind act. Mitama checks her follower count and it's up to 3, but the amount of power flowing through her is ridiculous. Yukito is shocked that she gains so much power. The goddess herself notes that this is not normal. She speculates that the sisters must have some kind of special ability. He starts to think that maybe the way someone becomes a follower is also a factor that affects the amount of power Mitama can use. The sisters became followers after seeing the goddess's powers firsthand. On the other hand, Roy is obsessed with Mitama, so he is more down the worship route. She gets too ecstatic with her power-up and promises to get revenge on those who didn't give her a chance. Alyul pleads for a favor. She wants Mitama to revive the men they terminated during the sisters' rescue, but Yukito is a bit reluctant since they are the enemy. Alyul believes that they were just doing their job. Shiruriru is also okay with it and even feels like some might become allies. Yukito thinks back to how dangerous Bertrand was. Mitama revives everyone, and they come back to normal apart from Bertrand, who is now in a female body. They are all a bit confused, and he's not happy with the turn of events. Things continue when Adder, who is a member of the Emperor's army, uses her cybernetic-like abilities to swiftly deal with one of the strange beasts. She alerts HQ that the task has been completed and is assured that the Emperor will be pleased with her work. Meanwhile, at the capital, Bertrand arrives in his new female form, announcing his return to the guard at the gate. The guard knocks her to the floor, not believing the words that come out of her mouth because he knows Bertrand to be a man. Bertrand spends the night in the wilderness. Roy emerges from the bushes, interrupting her thoughts. He teases her because earlier on, she was talking big about how she would annihilate the village. With a smug look on his face, he also notices some other things, but Yukito comes in and Judo throws Roy into the tree, knocking him out before he can even think of transgressing. Yukito offers his hand for her to join them as he needs her help. He entices her by promising to create a place for her to stay. Later on, the villagers are attacked by a strange beast while they tend to their farm. Bertrand saves them when she descends with an attack on the monster's head, which halts its charge for a moment, but it recovers after a short while and begins an even more aggressive charge toward her. Bertrand activates her sword and slices it in half with ease. Yukito and Mitama watch on in shock at what they are seeing. Everyone praises her for saving them. He carries on using crafty methods to get people to join, like persuading Alyul to make it so that only members can drink the happy juice from the tavern. More people join as a result, which is music to Yukito's ears. He next creates an insulated pot that preserves food that is placed inside. Seoul tells them that they can get one if they join the religion. By the close of the day, Mitama checks her follower count, and to her surprise, she gained over 100 followers as a result of Yukito's hard work. Yukito later stands alone on a cliff. He is joined by Bertrand. She reveals that it is not the numbers that make the Imperial Army formidable, but the Archons. They are a small elite division that the Emperor has direct control over. Yukito is interested to know if they are stronger than Bertrand. She confesses that she is nothing in comparison to them because they have been bestowed special powers directly from the Emperor. Adder confronts her colleague called Loki for making her chase after the strange beasts. Adder suspects that Loki is trying to buy more time because she is planning on revolting against the Emperor and the Parliament, but she dismisses the accusation, stating that she's a loyal servant. Bertrand does some recon around the village and is surprised that the capital still hasn't attacked the isolation camp. Her thoughts are interrupted by Adder, who has finally arrived at the village. She gets in a defensive stance knowing that Adder is not from the village. She's very wary because she could sense her presence. Adder checks the database and confirms that the lady standing before her is Bertrand, former captain of the 6th Regiment. Adder is confused about the sex change, and Bertrand is surprised that she figured out who she is. Adder doesn't understand the situation, but she just labels her as a rebel and attacks, but Bertrand dodges. But after a brief exchange, she gets defeated and is dragged by Adder to the village. She looks at the village and is perplexed by what she sees. The villages are using tractors and wind turbines, among other things.
1 month ago, Yukito told Klen and Siluril that he would increase the number of Mitama's believers to 10,000 before the Archon arrives. People in this world don't know what gods are, plus people may not believe that Mitama is a god due to her appearance, so he increased the number of the believers by bringing people benefits before. Soon after, Roy is driving a harvester in the field. The villagers are also very excited, and it is their first time seeing a machine from Earth. Such a way of harvesting wheat is dozens of times faster than theirs. Yukito tells the villagers that this tool is a divine instrument created by Mitama-sama, and that as long as they join their religious organization and believe in Mitama, Mitama-sama will grant the believers this instrument. Hearing this, the people on the spot express their desire to believe in Mitama and join the organization. The number of her believers has been increased to 927 now, and it is much faster than the method Yukito used before. Just as Yukito is thinking about what to do next. At night, on the mountain, Yukito looks at the illuminated village and sighs that electricity is one of the greatest inventions in human history, thanks to which human beings can overcome the night. Everyone is enjoying the night, except for Mitama. She is very weak at the moment because she has exhausted her divine power again. Klen is also shocked by the scenery in the village, and he can't help but lament that even the king has never seen such impressive views, which are far more impressive than that in the imperial city. Klen's words make Bertrand alerted. How could a villager from the isolation camp know about the imperial city and the king's thoughts? Klen tells the two in front of him that he was actually working for the imperial palace before. While saying this, he takes off his clothes, revealing a mark, which represents that he is not a villager from the isolation camp. After that, he explains that he is just living in the isolation camp according to his own ideas, and he prefers life in the isolation camp to that in the imperial city. Klen knows that he is acting like a weirdo, but Yukito and Mitama, as well as the gods they often talk about, are even stranger than him? He asks Yukito to explain what a god is. After thinking for a while, Yukito answers that the gods will be mentioned in two situations. One is that people will fabricate a god to forcibly explain some unexplained events. The other is that some religions will create a god to attract some believers to benefit them. Speaking of this, Yukito becomes curious. He can understand why they don't have the second kind of gods he mentioned, but it is very strange that they don't have the first. That is to say, there are no unexplained events in this country. Bertrand says that according to Yukito's words, the god in this country should be the king, because all the natural phenomena that occur in this world will be explained by the assembly that works directly under the king. As long as the assembly still exists, they won't have any unexplained events. Hearing what Bertrand said, Yukito falls into deep thought. Because of electricity, in just one night, the number of Mitama's believers has increased to 2008, which is also the number of all villagers. Just when Yukito is about to head to other villages to attract more believers, Roy anxiously informs everyone that Bertrand is captured by a girl. Next, let's go back to the story after Adder defeats Bertrand. Adder thinks that this strange village is likely to pose a threat to the imperial city. Holding a water pipe, she forces Bertrand to tell what is going on in the village. If Bertrand doesn't tell the truth, she'll break her limbs first. Just as Adder is about to harm Bertrand, Mitama appears, stating that she is a god, and Bertrand is her believer. Like her family, it is her job to protect her believers. When Adder hears the word family, she is very angry, as if she hates the word very much. After Yukito arrives, Bertrand tells him that the girl in front of him is the legendary Archon, and she comes this time to wipe out the village. Adder shoots a beam of energy at the people in front of her. She finds that her attack is blocked by the giant rock in front of her. Before she can figure out what happened, Mitama unleashes her divine power and summons many human-like monsters, which then rush towards Adder. Adder struggles to fend off Mitama's attacks, and she can't figure out how there can be such a powerful force other than the Archons. Obviously, Adder gradually can't resist with more and more human-like monsters appearing, and at this time, Mitama summons a huge barrier to trap Adder inside. Mitama happily throws herself into Yukito's arms, but not long after she is filled with joy, a beam of energy breaks through the barrier. It turns out that Adder did not use her full strength just now, and at this moment, her clothes have been damaged, with various strange arms floating around her body. Seeing this, Mitama summons giant pythons to attack Adder, and the arms around Adder burst out with a dazzling light, easily absorbing these giant pythons. Yukito is frightened by this, and Adder's power is almost like something from a legend. The power of the two collides fiercely. Mitama is defeated and falls to the ground, while Adder, who is in the air, is also seriously injured. Yukito hurries forward to hug the injured Mitama, and just then, Yukito's companions appear. They come here to care for them despite the dangers of the battlefield. Seeing this, Adder is furious, and she seems to hate seeing people caring for each other, so she decides to completely destroy everything in front of her. As terrifying power gathers in Adder's hand, a huge energy ball appears, and then she throws it at the distant village. As the energy ball explodes, the village will be completely destroyed. Just when Yukito is desperate, things turn around, with an unknown person snapping his finger. But suddenly we find out the destruction was just an illusion created by Klen, who was actually Loki, one of the main Archon, and he wants Yukito and Mitama's help to destroy the imperial capital.
Adder shock turns to anger after realizing that her comrade has betrayed the Empire. She immediately charges up an attack. However, before she can release it, Loki stabs her in the back, literally. As Adder lies on the floor paralyzed by the pain of the sudden attack, Loki reminds her that she has already been caught inside her ability. This is further displayed when Loki clicks her fingers, revealing that the attack she inflicted on Adder was also an illusion and she is in fact bound. They make their way to the capital and proceed into the palace without incident. Loki leads them down a corridor lined with guards with stern expressions. They arrive at the Emperor's audience room, where they meet the boss sitting on an elevated throne. A disgraced Adder throws herself to the Emperor and begins to apologize desperately for failing her mission to eradicate the offending isolation village. She is even more embarrassed to have allowed Loki, the filthy rebel, stand before him. She is shocked to hear the emperor commend them on a job well done, revealing that Yukito's arrival was foretold. The monarch also knows that he's trying to revive the concept of gods and religion, and finds it amusing watching him stressing to achieve this goal. The emperor explains that they have seen countless countries fight and ultimately destroy themselves for God, so they conclude that the only way to prevent a repeat of such destruction is to properly control people. Yukito is shocked to know that that concept existed in this world and even wonders if the emperor too is from a different world. Mitama also notices something and makes her way to a pillar and destroys it. She reveals that everyone was acting weird and informs that both Yukito and Adder have been talking to a corpse this whole time. The illusion begins to crumble as the true nature of the place is revealed. The two stand with their mouth wide open. Loki laughs, not surprised that Mitama saw through the deception. She explains that what they have been seeing is a fake image created by the facility. Loki walks up and kicks the skeleton off the cyber-looking throne. The skull lands next to a disturbed Adder. Loki continues stating that the emperor of the country died centuries ago. Everything has been controlled by the machines in this facility that he put together before his demise. She has been tasked with maintaining the rooms, but she doesn't have a full understanding of how everything works. It begins to dawn on Yukito that these machines are more advanced than anything from his time. He now starts to doubt everything he knew about this world. Mitama reveals that it has been several thousand of years since the world had been destroyed. A few smart people were among the survivors and banded together to build a land that could never meet the same fate again. While in the process, they also deleted the belief in gods. Yukito is surprised that she knew information about this world all along and asks her where they are. The goddess drops the bombshell that it is Earth. She sent him very far into the future. Yukito's head starts to spin with the revelation that he's not in another world. He wants to know why she brought him, so she reminds him that it was his wish when he was drowning in the ocean. He asks to be reborn in a world without gods or religion. Adder falls to her knees as Loki pleads with Yukito to destroy the place and bring an end to this soulless country. He agrees because the world with free will that she talks about isn't so bad. Yukito gives Mitama the go-ahead to do her things. He speculates that as soon as they are free from the Empire, the Archons will begin to fight among themselves. If that happens, their village will be dragged into it as well. He thinks about everyone whilst knowing that it will not end well. With this in mind, he feels like there is only one way to protect them. He throws Loki's sword at the throne as Mitama gets excited and summons a giant tree that sprouts out of the palace dome, breaking it in the process. The civilians wonder what is going on with a dead look in their eyes. Meanwhile, at the palace, Loki looks unhappy that Yukito has just gotten up the stage for the new age of gods. The Archon seems excited that the world is about to be thrust into chaos. However, for Yukito, nothing has changed for him as he's still going to make Mitama the god of this godless world. He is confident that the fake Archons can't win against a real god.
Back at the village, the people celebrate now that they are no longer targets of the Empire, and Mitama is praised for taking out the Empire, but Loki and Ataru are also there. Yukito wonders what Loki wants, but she says she just wants to enjoy a final night at the village with everyone. Loki decides to head off, not wanting the other Archons to get ahead of her, and she leaves Ataru behind, saying she can no longer use her powers without the Empire's machines. Yuki claims he will do everything to protect the village, and Loki says she will do whatever it takes to become a god. As she leaves, she is stopped by Bertrand, who sees her as a threat, but Loki uses her magic, turning Bertrand back into a man, and he is overjoyed to be back in his original form. However, Loki changes him back, mentioning how she still has powers, so he is no match for her. Bertrand wonders where she is headed, and she reveals she is going back to the capital, but Bertrand decides to follow her. Taru is left devastated, not knowing what to do with herself. She blames Yukito for destroying the Empire, but he explains he didn't have a choice. He decides to team up with her, telling her that if they defeat all the other Archons, she could absorb their powers and recreate the system in the assembly. Next day, Yukito announces that their religion will have 2 gods. Mitama is shocked hearing this, and her 2,000 followers get divided, with each of them having 1,000. Mitama is devastated, and Ataru uses her power, blowing up a nearby rock. Yukito thinks her fighting ability will come in handy, but Mitama reminds her who's boss. Ataru uses her power to defeat the giant beasts, and the group shows off their meat and alcohol to attract people from other villages. They even bring them back to the village, showing off their technological advancements, and Yukito offers to share everything with them, as long as their village accepts Mitama as their god. Sil brings up some information she found about a woman named Dikini, who is claiming to be god in another village, and she already has 10,000 followers. Yukito thinks it must be an Archon, asking Ataru about her, but she says she only really had contact with Loki, although she knows that Dikini's power is related to love. Mitama wants to crush her, but Yukito has another idea, saying the best way to take over a religion is to hijack it from the inside. They go over to Dikini's area, and Yukito thinks it looks like a love hotel. They ask to join the religion, and a girl named Risha Pierce introducing herself as one of the branch leaders. They reach Dikini's chamber, but Rish tells them they can only meet her as a male and female pair. Mitama worries if Yuki will be okay without her, but he says it should be fine. Al thinks their infiltration is going well, but Yukito tells her not to let her guard down. Dakini suddenly appears mentioning how she has been busy getting so many followers recently. Yuki requests to join, and Dakini easily agrees, mentioning that they just need to do things the way they like and live according to their desires. She takes a picture of them both and just leaves the room. Yukito is suddenly overwhelmed by a strange feeling, and it seems Al has also been affected. Yukito wonders how they were affected by Dakini's powers, and he is overwhelmed looking at Al, but he manages to snap out of it, and there is suddenly an explosion, as Roy comes smashing through the wall, and Matama reveals he tried to make a move on her. Roy runs off after being rejected, and Yukito wonders what they are going to do about the hole in the room. Meanwhile, Dakini tells Rish that the secret joining ritual is complete. Rish prepares to handle the rest, but Dakini warns her that she set their love to berserk mode. As Rish goes to check up on them, she sees Matama as she is repairing the wall with her powers, but Yukito grabs onto her, warning her not to tell anyone about what she saw. She starts crying and reveals she has never actually been with the man. Yukito thinks it's strange considering her position in the group, and Rish wonders why Dakini's power didn't work on them. Yukito explains he has resistance thanks to training from his father, and Matama was unaffected since she is a god. Hearing that she is a god, Rish begs for their help, actually wanting to destroy the group. Meanwhile, Roy causes a scene running around, but he runs into Dakini, who finds him interesting. Rish explains how her village was taken over by Dakini's sect, and she was unwillingly forced to become a follower. Before she joined, she used to read the forbidden books about lovemaking, so she started making crazy stuff up, and the other followers became convinced she was experienced, even making her one of the branch leaders. She tells them she just liked to read about it but can't stand it in real life, so she wants to get free by destroying this act. Yukito isn't sure he can trust her but thinks she could be useful, so he agrees to help her. Matama suddenly starts to panic as she sees her follower count dropping. We see the villagers as they try to restrain one of the giant beasts. The beast breaks free, but Sil says they bought enough time, and Ataru uses her powers to blast it and take it out. The villagers praise her, and she feels like her power is getting stronger. Meanwhile, Rish explains how Dakini rotates between each branch of every few days, so it will be a few weeks before she comes back around to their branch. Meanwhile, in another branch, Dakini spreads her message, gaining even more followers, but she notes that her power doesn't seem to be increasing. She overhears some followers talking about the new items they've obtained to help the love sessions, revealing Rish has been handing them out in her study group. We see Rish as she explains the science behind the human body, telling the followers how to achieve more intense pleasure, even attracting followers from other branches, and she starts to be praised by them. Yukito knows instead of Dakini, who is not always there, the people will tend to follow whoever is around, and thanks to the items summoned by Matama and his knowledge from the modern world, Rish is able to grow our own faction. Dakini suddenly returns to their branch early, and she confronts Rish about stealing her followers, but Rish claims she was just helping them to better understand her teachings. The followers defend Rish, saying she has done nothing wrong, but Dakini realizes why her powers haven't been growing. She summons her guards to surround them, realizing Yukito is the one who has been influencing Rish. Roy has become lover guard, and he suddenly punches Yukito, revealing that he was converted by Dakini. Dakini holds a trial where she has the four of them restrained. She interrogates Rish about her special study group. Rish suddenly cries as she apologizes for her actions, saying she thought she was being helpful, and she begs to be punished. The other followers are moved by her devotion, and they think she has done nothing wrong, begging Dakini to show mercy, but this was all a part of Yukito's plan. In a flashback, we see that Yukito predicted how Dakini would react, so he coached Rish on how to act, even giving her a script of what to say. Rish continues her performance as she asks for mercy for the followers of her group, and thanks Dakini for taking her in. Everyone has moved to tears, and Dakini is put in a tough position, so she has no choice and is forced to call off the trial. Dakini thinks about losing Rish but decides she doesn't need her as she summons her guards. We are now brought into Dakini's memory. She was created by the early royal family and born with the ability to awaken love. She thought the king was going to use her abilities to increase the population by growing people's desires. However, the king told her that she was not to awaken love, but to restrict human love. The royal family does not rely on pregnancy to have children because they can breed humans artificially. Only when all humans no longer give birth to babies on their own can the royal family control population growth artificially, thus controlling the world. Since then, Dakini had been photographing humans every day with her cell phone. Like Tool, as long as humans were photographed, they would completely lose their desire for love, as well as the ability to have intimate interactions. Thousands of years have passed, and humans have mutated to be a species without love or the ability to give birth. If this continued, Dakini would lose her significance of existence, so she compiled her knowledge about intimate interaction into books, hoping to awaken love hidden in humans' heart. However, humans who had lost the ability to have intimate interaction couldn't understand her books at all, and these books got banned later. Many more years passed, and Dakini found a girl named Toka who liked these forbidden books very much. It turned out that Toka was a very rare person in this world who could fall in love since birth. Dakini also liked Toka very much. The girl lived freely with love, unlike the humans who had lost their vitality and lived like robots. Toka was longing for giving birth to a child, and Dakini believed that it was what humans should be like. Dakini had always been with her growing up. However, the inhabitants of the city hated the girl so much that Toka was eventually banished to an isolated village as an outlier. Years later, by the time Dakini heard from Toka again, she had been killed by the villagers, believers. Dakini was very desperate and vowed to restore the world to its original state. She wants to create a world where humans can fall in love, start a family, and have children. As the memory ends, we are back to the prison where Yukito is kept. As the subordinates sent by Dakini are about to fight against Yukito, Ader along with Soluro appears and rescues them. At this moment, the number of Ader's followers has increased to more than 6,000. All of this is Yukito's plan. He deliberately took Matama away from the village so that the villagers could be attracted to Ader, who is much stronger in the fight. Therefore, Ader will have more followers and gain more power from them. Then it's time for the final attack on Dakini. They soon find where she is and launch an attack. At this moment, Dakini finds Riche holding a book in her hand which used to be Toka's. Just as she is about to ask Riche where the book comes from, she is interrupted by Ader's attack. When Ader and Dakini are fighting, Riche performs other tasks with Matama, but she is puzzled why Dakini said her mother's name just now. At this moment, the battle between Ader and Dakini has entered a climax, but everyone underestimates Dakini's strength. She has already absorbed more than 14,000 followers during the battle, and knocks down Ader easily after transformation. Later, Dakini infects them with uncontrollable lust. As the three girls approach and hug Yukito tightly, the ground suddenly cracks, and the tentacles of many plants stretch out to separate them. The next moment, Matama and Riche show up. Just now, Riche told the believers in the organization that Matama is the real god with advanced knowledge of intimate interactions, and she will not only teach everyone new knowledge, but also give believers more tools. With her prestige in the organization, Riche formed a new faction, which caused many followers of Dakini to turn to Matama. Thus, Matama once again gained powerful divine power. Dakini thought that losing some followers would not affect her combat power, only to find her abilities actually disappearing. It turns out that Matama remembered that among the gods she knew there was also a god named Dakini. She deduced that this Dakini was just the archon of this world, who could only borrow her power from the real god, so she traveled to the world of the real god Dakini, and begged her to reclaim the power of the archon. The real god also felt that the recent behavior of archon Dakini in making the believers go on an intimacy spree was a bit excessive, so she promised Matama to temporarily withdraw archon Dakini's divine powers. Dakini finally realizes that something is wrong, and tries to escape but is stopped by Roy at the door. Not long ago in prison, Yukito handed Roy a note saying that as long as he helped the woman when she was in danger, he would win her heart. Roy has always liked Matama, so he believes that if he helps Matama stop Dakini, he will reap Matama's favor. While Roy stops Dakini, Ader attacks and completely defeats Dakini. Though defeated, Dakini still doesn't understand why would she with such strong power fail in the end. Yukito tells her that it is because she is always alone while he has so many partners around. Then Riche finally comes up and asks Dakini how she knew Toka's name, and Toka was her mother. Hearing this, Dakini is caught up in memories that Toka once told her that she wanted to find a man she loved, have a child of her own with him, and let the child become Dakini's best friend. Riche is the child of Toka and the man she loved. At this moment, Dakini awakens and starts her confession. She should not have made humans obsessed with physical pleasure and lose their thinking about love. She shouldn't have abused her abilities to get people caught up in the lust for intimacy, and it's not the world she wants. After that, Yukito tells Dakini to tell her followers that Matama is now their goddess, but Dakini rejects his offer. Riche comes to her and asks about her mother. Riche tells Dakini that she will help her and leaves. After some time, Riche comes back with Yukito in the leash and frees Dakini, but asks Dakini to give all her followers to Riche. She accepts it, and we learn that it was Riche's plan to get the followers from Dakini. Because Riche believes in Matama, it means that anyone who believes in Riche will actually believe in Matama. After this, everyone heads back to the village. When suddenly they are attacked by the CGI monsters, Ader easily defeats it, and we learn that she has more than 11,000 followers, which is more than Matama has. Suddenly, a lot of CGI monsters appear, and Ader can't defeat them all. Luckily, thanks to Matama, they saved. The monsters destroyed the village, but everyone left alive. Yukito asks Matama to restore the village with her power. She restored the village but left powerless. In the distance, we see Antor Archont, named Gaia, who can control the CGI monsters, but to her surprise, they attacked her instead. While celebrating, one of the villagers comes in and says that Roy was attacked by the CGI monsters. Ader easily defeats the beast, and it turns out that Roy was carrying Gaia with him when he tried to make a CPR, but she kicked him and said that she don't like him at all. She introduces herself and tells that she can control the CGI beasts, and Yukito instantly attacked her. She begs him to stop and tells that she didn't want to destroy the village, and later on we learn that she only has 2 followers. Gaia tells that she wants to destroy Loki, who is now in the capital. They all went to the capital, and surprised to see that built a wall. Gaia uses her power to create a bird to show that anything that will cross the wall will be destroyed. Suddenly a black knight appears, and we learn that this is Bertrand. Loki appears near Yukito, and he instantly attacks her, but this doesn't work. She explains that now she has more than 1 million followers, but Yukito laughs at it and tells that it's not so much. He leaves and tells her if she had attacked them she would have died. But back at the village he tells everyone that he bluffed. Bertrand explains that Loki Probaby used his power to make everyone think that the Emperor is alive. Thus everyone started believe in Loki, thinking his illusion is the Emperor. Yukito tells that to defeat Loki he will make Matama an idol. Under Yukito's arrangement, it doesn't take long for the world's first band to be formed, and it soon gains a large number of fans. The next moment she finds that her divine power has increased, but the number of her followers is still the same. Yukito tells her that he has discovered that the divine power of the gods has a lot to do with the cohesion of the entire religion, in addition to the number of followers. There is no music in this world, and the appearance of the band greatly enriches people's entertainment life, which is why the band can attract fans so quickly. Now Yukito wants to ask Bertrand to do something. Bertrand is moved by Yukito, and immediately promises him that she will do whatever he wants. Yukito then asks her to follow Gaia secretly. Gaia is a new member of their organization, and Yukito still feels uneasy about her. When tracking Gaia, Bertrand discovers that Gaia always deliberately approaches some children and tries to trick them into visiting her home. However, she uses so low-level methods to deceive the children that they all despise her or are scared away. Later, Bertrand finds out that Gaia has come to a nearby house where 5 young children call her mother, and they have a very good relationship. Bertrand tells Yukito about this, and Yukito immediately guesses that it is Gaia's religious organization. The smallest form of religion is a family. The different lifestyles of each family can be regarded as special rituals of religion, and the head of the family is the leader. Yukito does not want such a formidable opponent hidden around him, so he decides to destroy Gaia's religious group. To do this, he has to find someone to help. The next morning, when Yukito is waiting for the person to appear, Bertrand suddenly hugs him and begins to undress him, intending to do something shy with him. It turns out that this is all done by Dakini, who deliberately controls Bertrand to tease Yukito. Fortunately, Riche appears in time to stop Dakini from controlling Bertrand, and Bertrand immediately flees shyly. Because of Riche, Dakini reconciles with Yukito. The reason why Dakini shows up here is that Yukito asked Riche to bring her here. Yukito wants to use Dakini's ability to control people's minds to snatch Gaia's family. Dakini doesn't want to agree at first, but Yukito tells her that Gaia is likely to be using these children, and if they lose their value, the innocent children will be abandoned. Dakini thinks of the innocent children of the Imperial City and finally agrees to Yukito's request. So they start their plan. Yukito and Matama find an excuse to stall Gaia, making her unable to return home for the time being. Dakini takes advantage of this time to approach several children in Gaia's family, but instead of using her ability to control people's minds, she makes the children like her with her actions, and with her efforts, 3 children are fond of her. Unfortunately, there are 2 slightly older children who are very wary of Dakini. Gaia once told the 2 children not to approach any strangers. Dakini wants to persuade the 2 children to play with her. Unexpectedly, the next moment these 2 children summon monsters. Since Dakini transferred all the followers to Riche with Dakini's divine power, now she cannot fight these monsters at all. Dakini immediately flees with 3 children. When she catches up with Dakini, the monsters are already defeated by Yukito and his companions. Yukito has already guessed that something might happen, so he heads to support Dakini with others. At this moment, the ground suddenly shakes and Gaia appears. Cyan thinks Gaia comes to save her and immediately throws herself into Gaia's arms. Unexpectedly, the next moment Cyan falls into the ground, and Gaia stops smiling, saying that the family game is over. Suddenly, a very large monster appears nearby, which is created by Gaia. This monster is so powerful that Ader can't cause damage to it. Luckily, at the critical moment, the Allura sisters drive a truck to leave with Yukito and the others together. This monster is named Typhon. Although it took many years to create Typhon, as long as it is created, it will be completely loyal, and it doesn't need much divine power to control it. While Yukito is thinking about how to defeat the monster, part of the monster's body suddenly emerges from the ground and crashes into the truck. This monster is tens of thousands of meters long, and just now Yukito falls from the truck and is later pierced by the monster. Seeing this, Matama rushes to him, but both of them are bitten apart by the monster. The others flee back to the village, and just when they all think that Yukito and Matama are dead, Allura's necklace glows. The next moment, a hallucination of Matama appears, telling them that she and Yukito are not dead and are now trapped in the body of the monster. Although the monster is very powerful, they still decide to find a way to rescue Yukito. At this moment, Yukito has woken up, and Gaia transforms from a little girl into a sexy woman, which is a fighting form of the Archons. She tells Yukito that she has tried to kill him 300 times, but each time he was revived by Matama, whose divine power is almost exhausted. Gaia tells Yukito that she is now going to wipe out Loki's religion in the Imperial City. Gaia has lived in this world for a long time. Before the royal family showed up, Gaia's mother created a cult. To satisfy her desire, she even consolidated her position by hurting Gaia, which kept Gaia living in pain. Until one day she could no longer withstand it. She killed her mother and destroyed the cult herself. Later, the royal family appeared, which adopted her and made her into an Archon. Each Archon has a similar tragic experience. Just as Gaia is about to kill Yukito again, she discovers through the eyes of the monster that Yukito's companions have actually set up a stage nearby and are holding a grand concert. She has no idea what these people are doing. Soon she knows the answer. These people hold a grand concert to attract the surrounding villagers to be their fans, and using their worship they can gain more divine power, which strengthens Ader's divine power by several times. Dakini also gains the love of fans at this concert, thus gaining a lot of divine power. Encouraged by Riche, she and Ader launch a fierce attack on the monster Typhon. Unfortunately, Typhon is much more powerful than they thought, and their attacks only slightly stop him from going forward and can't defeat him. So Yukito's companions start up a plan B. Ader gets on the stage holding a microphone, telling her fans that she is very grateful for their support and that she is very happy when getting along with them. But from this day on, she will no longer be a god in the religion, hoping that her followers can believe in Matama. After listening to Ader, these followers are not very willing to accept this fact. Suddenly Riche tells everyone that after Ader quits her duty as a god, she will serve the followers in the audience. Hearing this, the followers go completely crazy. They no longer reject Ader's proposal and become Matama's followers. In this way, Mitama gains a large number of followers and greatly strengthens her power, with which she cooperates with Yukito and completely defeats Gaia. As the monster typhon disappears, Mitama shows up in front of everyone with Yukito in her arms. Seeing Yukito, Allura immediately throws herself into his arms, and everyone else shows a smiling face. Next, it is time for the trial of Gaia. A boy who was adopted by her Kai wants to kill her but is stopped by Cyan. Cyan has taken Gaia as her mother. She was very happy with Gaia during this time and felt the warmth of family. So she wants everyone to give Gaia another chance, and she doesn't want this hard-won family to be destroyed again. Gaia is touched by Cyan's words. In the end, she and Cyan hug each other, and Cyan vows to form a real family. After this incident, the villagers hold a banquet to celebrate their victory. When everything is arranged, Yukito discovers that Mitama has 30,000 followers now, which is very strange because the total number of all the surrounding villagers has not reached 30,000. At this time, Yukito falls into Loki's illusion, in which Loki confesses that she used her power to transfer her followers to Mitama, and that she did this to defeat the monster typhon. Loki's confession is just like she is showing her power, and she seems to tell Yukito that she can control anything at will. Yukito is unflinching, saying that he has thought of a way to defeat her. After Loki disappears. After that, Yukito returns to the real world, and he starts to think of everything that happened recently. He had nothing in his original world, but he met many new companions here who, though strange, are kind, and he is happier than ever before. Seeing his companions, Yukito can't help but think that although this world sucks, it is incredible, and he vows to protect everything in front of him now.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.